Hi, and thank you so much for chiming in. So in this video, I not only want to talk about my top 5 percussion libraries that I'm currently using, I also want to go a little bit into the exact patches that I'm using and also talk a little bit about how to process these. Also keep in mind that this is in no particular order, and of course the list could change potentially with every new release that's out there on the horizon. So let's hop right into this. Okay, so let me play the track first without percussion and talk a tiny little bit about what I did here. Okay, so nothing really special. I just loaded Nucleus Spiccato strings here, and this is just an ensemble patch, so I can play stuff like... Okay, so the same goes for Junk XL brass. I set up a combo patch here that consists out of trombones, horns, and trumpets. And I also loaded as I always do, almost always, like the sustains, the short marcatos, and the spiccatos, so I can play stuff like... That's it. And last but not least, I loaded Oceania choirs. I split the men and the women because I simply wanted to be able to play, let's say, something like this here. But playing at the same range, but an octave above, having the women. So when I layer both of these, it sounds like this. Okay, so already as mentioned, in no particular order, let me introduce you to the first library I tend to use very often. This is Spitfire Audio Hans Zimmer Percussions, or HZ01. And the exact patch that I've been using is the low booms. So let's check out how this sounds in combination with the track right now. So as you can hear, the percussion sound very low, almost a little bit distant, but very heavy. And I also hear from people across the web that they don't like the library because it sounds a little bit too dull. But hey, I mean, you have the close mics also, so I introduced these and got a little bit rid of these room microphones. And I'm also using the Junk XL microphones. So I probably shouldn't tell you this, but I kicked off any other mix from the library itself and just kept the Junk XL microphones or the Junk XL mixes because they sound so great and they fit into almost everything I'm doing. And of course, I don't want to overuse the samples, so that's why it's a very sparse ensemble here. So basically it gives you that kind of a distant, heavy Lord of the Ring-ish sounding track, but a little bit more mighty and let's say more modern. Okay, next library in line, Damage 2 by Heaviosity. And the exact patch that I've been using is the Armageddon Ensemble 2. And as you can see, I layered a few notes here, so let's first listen to how this sounds. So what I did here is taking these MIDI notes and copied them to another, let's say another drum. And then did the same again to another drum. So now when you play all three of them, it sounds like this. And of course, it depends on what you want to do. If you want to have really straight sounding, straight on the beat percussions, then you would leave them as they are quantized. But you could also mark these and add a little bit of humanization. So you can say humanize. And as soon as I do this, and I just do a little bit of here, 0, 9, and 10. So I hit OK, and it sounds like this. So let's compare to the previous one here. and redo this. So you can hear that there are a few more flams in there, and therefore it sounds a little bit more mighty and a little bit wider, but not as punchy as before. So you definitely want to decide depending on the track you're currently working on. Okay, number 3, Dagu by Orchestral Tools. And please don't be confused by the full name of Dagu, that is Chinese theater drums, because from the name, you wouldn't guess that this is something you would use in, let's say, an adventure game battle track or even in a trailer track. But when I heard the library for the first time, especially these processed patches here, and especially the Hyper Punch ensemble, I was pretty impressed how epic this thing sounds. So let's listen to the track with Dagu only. So let me just play that solo for you. So pretty mighty sounding patches. So don't underestimate this library. Definitely brings something new to the table. Okay, next library in line, number 4, Audio Imperia Cerberus. Okay, so let's listen to the track with Cerberus only. So let's listen to Cerberus solo and also show you the patch that I have been using for this. Very versatile, very punchy, very direct, straight into your face. Well done, Audio Imperia. Okay, last but not least, number 5, Devastator. And the patch that I've been using here is Synthetic Trailer Drums, the Round Robin patch. And it sounds like this. So to be honest, at first I wouldn't use these patches in some kind of, video game or trailer track when it comes to like typical percussions. But I definitely don't want to miss this patch anymore. Okay, so if you have a little bit of time left, let's combine a few of these patches and let me show you a little bit of an EQ trick that helps you when you have percussion libraries that sound, let's say, a little bit too tonal or too muddy. Okay, so now let's try a few of these combinations here. So let's combine the Hans Zimmer low booms with Damage 2. And now let's exchange Damage 2 with Dagu. So this is a great combination because you have these low pounding drums, the Lord of the Ringish sound with Dagu. And let's play this solo for a second. And let's exchange this with Damage 2. So you get this Lord of the Ringish sound, you got modern, very broad or wide sounding percussions, or you got a little bit more close sounding but really percussion samples with a lot of impact. And of course we could use also all three of them. Now let's go with the next combination and let's check out the low booms with Cerberus. And let's combine this again, because they sound really punchy and bright, we can combine them with our Armageddon ensemble too, so the Damage 2 patch here. Now, rhetorical question, what would happen when we add Dagu? And last but not least, let's bring Devastator to the table here. So an important point here is to realize that all of these libraries bring something different to the table. Let's quickly listen to each of them. So maybe with the exception of Devastator, you can hear that each of these libraries brings something completely different to the table, what no other library has. So this is so often why I find library comparisons really unnecessary, because they all sound so different. And this is one of the reasons why I never compare libraries in the sense of, is one library sounding more epic than the other one? Because if you combine all these different attributes or all these different characters of each of these libraries, you create not only a custom sound, but something that sounds way more mighty than anything else. Okay, so that little EQ trick I was talking about is basically something very simple. Let's create a percussion group here, and let's create a bus for selected channels. Let's name it Perks. And then let's solo this channel here. So let's get rid of Devastator and Cerberus for a second here, because the Dagu patch, Damage 2 patch, and the low booms of the Hans Zimmer library are a little bit more of the dull sounding patches here. So as I already mentioned, there's a little EQ trick where you can get rid a little bit of muddy frequencies, or as I call them, tonal frequencies when it comes to percussion libraries. And this is by simply, opening an EQ and then let's play around with a frequency around about 200 Hertz for a second. Let's loop this. And if we get rid of this frequency, and bypass this in exchange, there is almost something that sounds like wind, like woo, 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 something low that is blowing through the entire arrangement. And this can be a pretty disturbing frequency, especially when you play it with other tracks. So let's try how this sounds in combination with the other percussions here, but also the full track. Do this once more, but I can already feel that the, let's say, the entire frequency spectrum just opens up a little bit more. It gets a little bit more clear. Okay, that's it. Thanks so much for your time. I hope you liked this video. If you liked it, I would be really happy if you leave me a thumbs up or even subscribe to my channel, just in case if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any comments, suggestions, if you have any questions, feel free to use the comment section below. During the last 2 years, I made sure to almost answer all of your comments. I really, really appreciate your input. Thanks so much again for your time, and see you on my next video.